like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up to our February agenda meeting and remind you if you would like to address the jury and have not been placed on the agenda, please come forward and fill out a card. And with that, I'd like to have everybody lead the prayer box. Scott. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Move to recite the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses. All right. First item on the agenda, Ms. Lisa Hunt.
Excuse me, Mr. Lee. Sorry. I think it's a parliamentary matter that we should address any add-ons before we start the regular business. So I'm requesting that you add on an executive session for me to update you on our pending litigation.
Okay. We can't take a motion. You know what's going on. We'll have an add-on for the,
We could do an executive session as an add-on, we don't have to have a notice or anything. She's looking at the end.
Well, I mean, I didn't look at that question. I asked for this.
Go back.
But I think I need to tell you what cases we're going to, address are all the permitting compliance cases, Creola versus Cameron Parish Police Jury, Waterworks, Carmish versus Waterworks, South Fork versus Gravity Drainage District, opioid litigation, we have an important update on that. What is all this? Oh, this is our criminal files that are now on appeal, and I think that's all.
So we'll do that this afternoon.
I make a motion we, add an executive session to discuss the list of litigation.
Okay, and y'all would like to do it after the voting meeting, or in conjunction with the voting meeting? Or you want me to do it like at lunchtime, or when you're?
no, we have to do it.
You have to do an add-on, and you have to do it in the voting meeting,
Right.
it's gotta be approved.
So we'll do it at the end of the voting meeting.
Okay,
Have a
or the
second.
last thing on the.
My second. Have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, excuse me, Ms. Hunt.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm the chairman of the Cameron Parish Beachfront Development District 1, and our board voted this last meeting to approve a new sign or a sign for Holly Beach. They don't have a welcome to Holly Beach sign that's very visible, and in your packets you should have a copy of that area included. It's a 4-foot by 10-foot sign with pelican and gold cutouts. It'll be placed at the Y there at Highway 27 and 82. The sign company's working on the DOTD permit to place the sign there. The good news is after we pay for the sign, several of the local members of the community have offered to install at their own expense solar lights, some landscaping, and also to maintain the sign. So once it's there, it's going to be there for a long time, hopefully, and welcome people. That's our major tourist destination for people coming down to the beach, and we think this will be a good introduction for them to see how what a great opportunity they have to come visit and enjoy the beach. On a bigger picture note, we also are working on what we're calling our Southwest Cameron Parish Coastal Master Plan. We have a lot of things that we'd like to do with very limited funds, so our plan right now is to develop this, some different ideas, including the first thing people ask about is a public restroom facility at Holly Beach. Of course, everybody wants a fishing pier. there's a lot of other things that we can do in conjunction with that. We're also working on some erosion issues, and I had a good meeting this week with the road and bridge and permitting and with Miss Katie to address some of the sand blowing across the highway where we're just losing that strip around mile marker 22 between Johnson Bay and Holly Beach. So we're working on a lot of different projects. We appreciate all y'all's support, and I just want to give you a little bit of an update today. So,
Is all wood side?
I'm
Is
sorry?
it all wood?
No, it's called Diebold. It's an aluminum product with a poly core, and it's supposed to be very hardy in our environment down here. So they give it a 10-year shelf life. Of course, we're at the mercy of the weather, whether, as far as how that's going to hold up. But it will be 6-inch posts. And it'll be, the sign company's going to install it for us.
Great.
Are you still on the tourist commission?
Yes, sir.
Or y'all, did the tourist commission have a part in those signs like welcome to Creole, welcome to Grand Lake, welcome?
Those were the lead project through Chenier. So each community with the schools, you're talking about the brick posts and
Right.
signs, those were provided through that lead project with Chenier.
Oh, okay.
But Holly Beach not having a school there, I mean, Johnson Bay, you got one, Holly Beach got one, Grand Lake and Creole,
All
yeah.
right. Okay. I was just, didn't know
We did the
where they come
old
from.
ones, the ones on the side of the road, like the green ones.
Yes, ma'am.
Teresa, we did those.
Yeah,
I didn't know if y'all had a part in that or
not that one,
not.
Not that.
good question.
Because they kind of showed up and then, I said, man, they look good.
They look really nice.
I
Yes, they
didn't
do.
really know where they come from.
Right.
Pay for 'em.
Yeah, they were free.
Yeah.
So, wish we could have all gotten one. Any other questions? I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
No comments.
Good, Louisiana companies, property insurance.
Good morning. Thank you all for having me. I'm going to talk about property insurance this morning. Our policy comes up February 16th. But before I go into a few of the details that you have included in your little packet there, I want to touch on a couple of things that I think are pertinent. First off, I work for Louisiana companies, but for our property insurance, we partner with a property broker. In fact, it's the largest property broker in the country. Why do we do that? We do that because when you go into the marketplace, you want broad access to all the insurance companies out there that would entertain a property quote, and you want to partner with somebody that has market clout. This broker that I deal with writes $17 billion worth of premium. That's with a B. They carry a big stick. I think it's important when you go to approach these companies that you associate yourself with someone like that. The other thing I want to point out is the insurance market, the commercial insurance market is cyclical. It's like a pendulum. It'll swing from what we call a soft market to a hard market. A soft market being lots of competition, more affordable premiums, broader coverage and terms. That's a soft market. A hard market, less competition, higher premiums, more restricted coverage. Nobody can predict when it swings, but I will say this, that we've been, as far as commercial property goes, for the last 8 to 10 years in a soft market. That's good for a buyer. The significance of this is in the second quarter of 2019, that pendulum swung from a soft market to a hard market. Our coverage comes up in February, okay? We didn't catch it in 2019, but we're going going to see it in 2020. Unfortunately, Cameron Parish Police Jury, we're not immune to these market swings. I cannot control. Louisiana companies, nor can Amwins, our property broker, control these property swings. But what we can control is making sure that we go to the marketplace. This year we went to 37 insurance companies. We have 10 insurance companies bundled in our current program. So we approached those same 10 and went to 37 others. Our current provider, AmRisk, it's a company that specializes in coastal property coverage. They've been our provider for the last 8 years. When I said earlier we've been in a soft market, I went and dug up our rate history. Insurance is based on rates. What do you pay per $100 of coverage? 6 of the last 8 years, we have had rate reductions. On average, 21%, not in aggregate, a year. 21% a year. We've had 2 rate increases, on average 6% a year. I think it's pretty significant. That tells me, number one, I'm confident in telling the jurors that each year when we go into market and I come to you, that I am providing you the absolute best quote that there is in the marketplace. As mentioned earlier, the AmRisk, which is what you're going to see there. They're our current provider. They, by far, are still the best provider. And if we could, let's turn to page, you've got a little packet there. It's actually the 4th page in your packet because AmRisk has provided us a few options that we need to choose. At the bottom, it says page 10. Our deductibles are split. We have a all other peril deductible. Fire, smoke, explosion, vandalism, theft, all of those perils other than wind. Our current deductible is $5,000 per person. That seems kind of low when you have a $60 million schedule, which is what we have. We have $60 million of value scheduled on this policy. I asked AmRisk if we bump that $5,000 deductible up, what sort of savings are we going to look at? That's what the top on this page shows. If we went to a $15,000 deductible, it saves $10,400. If we went to a $20,000 deductible, it saves $11,500. That doesn't sound a lot. Doesn't sound like a lot to me for that increase in the all other peril deductible from 5 to 15 to 5 to 20. But it's an option. That's something that we need to decide on. If you turn to the next page, there's a schedule there. I had mentioned earlier about our deductible. We have a separate wind deductible, okay? Our wind deductible right now is a 2% deductible. And if you look at basically the 3rd column where it talks about 2%, this is the column that we need to pay attention to for the big bad, okay? We don't want a big bad one, but if the big bad one comes again, if it's a named storm, we're subject to, at 2%, which is where we currently are, which is what the $395,000 premium is based on. Our maximum exposure, our deductible, what the parish retains, if every building is damaged and every building has more than 2% damage, it's $1,122,000. If we want to reduce that from 2% to 1%, the premium goes up 51,000, and our retention, our deductible goes down to 561,000. I don't know that we want to do that, but that's an option. If we want to increase that named storm deductible percentage from 2% to 3%, okay, that reduces the premium $32,000. But it also increases our deductible, our retention, to $1,683,000. The next page, that retention, if we want to go to 5%, our premium goes down $53,000. But our retention, our deductible, worst case scenario, all buildings damaged, our retention is 2.8, close to $3 million. I think that's awful. That's a big retention. But these are the options, number one, that we need to decide on. All of the peril, do we maintain $5,000 or do we go to 15 or 20? Named storm deductible, do we want 1%, 2%, which is what we currently have, it's what we have had, or do we want to bump it from 2% to 3 or to 5%?
Where's, where's your new premiums and your old premiums comparison at?
Should be,
On the exact same.
should be the very, this page. Let me think.
Page 7.
Okay, yeah, up there. Okay, yeah. So basically, the $77,000 is what
That is current deductibles and proposed same deductibles, that's correct. What is that? That's a 25% rate increase. That's pretty significant. All the forecasters, all the experts, once that market, that pendulum swung as far as catastrophic exposed property, which we fit there. We fit into that category with minimal losses. We have a little claim here or there. We hadn't had any big claims in a long time. The experts say, based on this market adjustment, expect a 25% to a 40% increase for catastrophic exposed property with claims, 30% to 60% plus. We've got a 25% rating. Is that good? It's the absolute best that the market is offering. And you don't always, you read all these articles and journals and the experts, they're writing the money, that's what we're seeing. The list, the last 4 pages of y'all's consolidated proposal lists all the insurance companies that we approach. How does that work? We put together applications, let's call it bid specs, we send it to them. They look at it, they start asking questions, what sort of premium are they paying now? We don't tell them what our renewal quote is with our current carrier, we keep that to ourselves. They look at it, we give them what we call a target premium. If you can get in this range, send me a formal quote. Probably more than half of those 37 insurance companies that write commercial property in the state of Louisiana say, no, we're just not. We're not interested. 5 to 6 of them started running their wind models. They're trying to determine the probable maximum loss. That's what the rate is based on. They started coming back to us saying, we're going to be Right now, this proposal is roughly 60 cents. That's our rate, 60 cents per hundred. The feedback that we were getting was 60 cents to $1, but it was for the first 5 million or maybe up to $10 million coverage. We got 60 million. We have 60 million in property, and we have this proposal is providing 60 million in limit. Basically, what I'm saying is Amherst is by far still the best market. They were the market that came in here in 2012 when we had coverage with Citizens Insurance Company, which was the only market available. And they cut our rates 49%. Then they cut it 13%. Then they cut it 18.5%. I averaged those 6 reductions is 21%. That pendulum that I was talking about, the last 2 years, it started to move, but it didn't. They bumped our rates up 9%, they bumped our rates up 3%. But after that pendulum went over from soft to hard, we're seeing this increase. Do I like to bring you an increase? Absolutely not. I can't control the market. I can't control going out, getting the best quote, delivering it, and giving you options, which is what I feel like I've done. And it's not just me, there's a team.
Do you have a recommendation?
Yes, sir. We leave the deductibles at 5 and 2%.
And that's what we have now?
Yes, sir.
And just take the $77,000 increase.
Yes, sir.
You want me to go with it?
Katie, have you reviewed this?
Yes, sir, I was looking through it, and we reviewed it yesterday, and, basically, I mean, if he's recommending the $5,000 deductible, because you're only gonna save $10,000 in the long run if you, increase your deductible amount, which you have to remember, this is an umbrella policy, this is not just police jury infrastructure, this is, waterwork districts, recreation districts, any gravity drainage districts. So whatever this jury decides, it's going to impact all these other entities and their insurance rates. So, do you have to have a decision today, Mr. Logan?
No, the policy comes up February 16th. The decision needs to be made before the 16th. Before coverage is bound.
Can you maybe just, if you're not ready to vote on this today and you want to have us talk to all their entities and see what kind of increase they can even take, and see if they're willing to perhaps risk it a little bit and maybe increase that 2%. That showed the most savings, right? If you increase the norm standard percent.
That's where our premium, the bulk of our premium is being derived from wind coverage. Why? Because we're on the coast. So when you start increasing that, which increases our deductible, that's where you see more savings than the all other peril, which would be a lightning strike or a fire or an ambulance, a theft, that sort of thing. It's wind. It's wind that drives our premium.
Correct.
If any of the structures that you're insuring were built with Stafford Act funds, you have to insure them for replacement cost for whatever they paid out on. If they paid out only on flood, then you have to have the replacement cost on flood insurance. But if it's on windstorm and they didn't pay it as a wind claim, which most of them were not, most of them were flood claims, then you don't have to insure it for the replacement of that.
Right, and there are a lot of things that you can
You can get away from that too, which is a complicated process. Y'all want to do it, I need to start right away.
But I mean, everything's covered on what we're required to be covered. I don't think we're changing the amount of the coverage. But we also have to keep in mind that we also have flood insurance. So this building, even though we're concerned about the wind taking it, flood's going to help take some of it. And I asked Ms. Jones on a sidebar conversation, in her experience with FEMA, how much on one particular structure did flood insurance cover and then how much did wind insurance cover? Because very seldom do they both cover 100% anyways. And we are required to maintain flood insurance on every building that we build with FEMA funds forever, for life. So we're always gonna be double covered on every building. So, I guess I think it's probably too big of a decision that impacts too many people to be made today. I think we should probably maybe do a resolution to, execute, maybe give, the administrator the authority to sign the premium or whatever the authorization paperwork is, and let us work the next week with all the districts and get with them. And if not, more than majority of them are okay with maybe increasing the 2% to 5 or 15%, knowing that they're gonna have flood to fall back on as well, then, and assume that risk just to save money, then we could do it that way. And if they're not willing to assume that risk, and the jury wants to guarantee, well, we'll cover the cost, but we're gonna go ahead and decrease it. I mean, just give us a little time to negotiate a few things with all the districts, since it's impacting everyone. It's gonna impact every library branch as well.
Is that going on the agenda, or what it
It's on the agenda to vote to accept whatever quote y'all
is?
decide.
Do we address that?
How do we do that, Ms. Jones, the wording? Can they vote this afternoon to accept the presentation and grant authority for us to sign based off of, do we have to decide which one we're choosing? Right now, today?
The jury has to vote on which option you're gonna choose.
You don't vote on the option until we figure out whether the other entities
Mhm.
agree with it.
And when, you're gonna have to have a special meeting if you don't make a decision today.
That's right.
We couldn't do anything like, pending.
I just don't think y'all can delegate the authority to select the option to the staff.
Okay,
I think y'all.
so it's either a special meeting or, if we make the decision today and then we get with all the entities and, they're not okay with it, then maybe we can call a special meeting. Can we call a special meeting to sign an update?
Who's out of this, who's the biggest shareholder in these,
The jury, we are.
and so the libraries is probably the next,
Yes.
affected.
My question to you is, why didn't you just bring this to us right now? Why didn't you bring this sooner before, just today?
Insurance companies release quotes normally at the absolute earliest, 30 days prior to an expiration date. In this case, I got this quote about 10 days ago, and I do what I would have, I kept pounding on. I kept pounding. They gave me the quote, we kept pounding on. I can take that in budge, but that's my job. I mean, I had the quote, so that I knew the market had changed, which I think is a valid question way back when it changed. But as far as actually having written proposals in hand, ready to bind, it was received, like I said, within the last 7 to 10 days.
I got a couple of questions for you.
Yes,
Is this raise 25% bump across the board, or is this just for lower Louisiana?
it's across the board. Yeah, we have, Katie, we are insuring all of our buildings and contents on replacement costs at 74
That's
locations.
not what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking in the state,
Yes.
is everybody's going up 25%?
I can't say that every building, every schedule is gonna go up 25%. I'm saying that ours did, and the experts, the insurance people that forecast rates are saying that catastrophic exposed property is going to go up a minimum of 25%.
And how do you, when you say catastrophic exposed, how are you limiting that? Is that lower coastal parishes?
They look at Cameron Parish as, they don't differentiate between upper Cameron and lower.
I'm not talking about some
Yes.
of the parishes, northern parishes in the state, southern parishes. I want to know if this is a
This
across
is-
the board hike, or is this, are they hammering the areas that are higher?
And
than
the market adjustment that I referred to is impacting all commercial property. But it is impacting coastal property more so. So that instead of a 25% bump, I don't recall what the forecasters say, it's somewhere between 10 and 20% if you're not coastal. If you're in northern Louisiana, that's it.
Won't we, Why don't we just go ahead and, vote to approve this afternoon, and we'll get with our entities, and the ones that's not available, we just pick up, go on with our business. I mean, the library is probably the second.
From an insurance standpoint,
Money to pick up in the cost.
our coverage expires at midnight on February 16th. We need to bind something, whether we bind the current deductible. We can change the deductible. If you need more than 2 weeks to get feedback, it can be changed. We can go up, we can go down. But we just need to bind something because coverage will expire at midnight on.
And my point is, I'm trying to establish, is this gonna happen again next year, or gonna be another 25%? How?
That's a good question. It's a valid question. And here again, I'm not the expert. The experts are saying this is not going to swing and stay there. You know, they claim it's going to swing and then start coming back to the soft side. I don't know what's going to happen between now and the end of the year.
So Logan, can we, so if we accept and bind it today, 3 months from now, can we go back and ask to increase the deductible or increase the storm if we need to? Okay. Yeah, let's just do that.
You can do it a month from now, 2 months.
And then you'll just bill us the difference, adjust the premium. Okay. Well then, yeah, y'all just do whatever y'all think's the right thing to do.
We'll go with vote, yeah, and then we'll work the
So-
details out. All right.
So what are, yeah, which option are we going to increase all the, assume all the risk to decrease the premium cost? Or are we going to accept the $75,000 increase?
Stay where you're at.
I'd say stay where we are. But, and I don't know that we've ever gotten to this, and I don't know that there's a formula. How is it done now if a rec center building disappears? Does that rec center
Get the fund.
take 100% of the deductible? I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know.
well,
I don't know. Is it
that's what
pro
we-
rata? How do we do that? I don't know.
yes, you develop a schedule based off the total premium. We'll get it in like 2 months. And we'll know exactly what each building costs, and then we bill those entities for their share.
Exactly.
And then the same thing when the money comes in, if there is a claim, it comes to us, and then we just disperse it to the entities.
We break the premium down by building, so they know what is this building, how much is it insured for, what the cost is, so it's allocated.
And to also keep in mind, not that you want to always depend on FEMA, but the way FEMA PWs work, you know, when you have a declared disaster and you get a PW written to either replace this building or to renovate it, to fix it, whatever you get in insurance money, they're going to withhold from your federal funds that you're eligible to get from the through a FEMA PW. So basically, if you got this building insured, say for $1 million, and the insurance gives you $900,000, FEMA's only going to give you the difference, $100,000. So it is good to be insured well, but a lot of those insurance hikes, you know, you're going to pay a lot in premiums every year that it's going to end up impacting how much you're going to be able to get in federal assistance. So that's something to keep in mind too.
But one last question from me. Is our state insurance commissioner aware of the 25% hike?
Yes.
And have you gotten any feedback from him?
He's aware that we are in a challenged property insurance. It's not just not just property insurance, auto insurance is a problem. I mean, I work in the insurance industry, and it's hard to come here and explain this to y'all. It really is. Yes, I think our insurance commissioner is doing a good job. He's aware of what's going on, and some of it is even beyond his control. I mean, it's
Wasn't
Might
there a
be 50%
meeting?
less job. Maybe we could get 10% instead of 25% hike. I digress. I got no questions. Anybody else?
Yeah, got one for Katie. Katie, what you're saying is that we could over-insure these buildings, because FEMA's just gonna make it up. Say if we insured it for $500 and it costs $1 million to redo it, FEMA's gonna pick up the difference on the flood anyway. But we have to insure it for the value that we built it for.
Yes, and he's not changing what the value that we're insuring. He's just changing what we're gonna have to, and that 2% and that deductible, you know, what they're gonna deduct off the top before you get your insurance proceeds. That's the only thing that he's wanting us to pick and choose from. And like I said, not that you want to plan for the worst case scenario, but most of the time, you're either gonna have a complete loss, very seldom, or you're gonna have a loss that's gonna be less than, 50%. And, I mean, you're either gonna have a fire or a hurricane's gonna come take everything. So your deductible, I mean, I would choose a higher deductible in my opinion, just because,
Will FEMA cover?
you're gonna pay out of pocket for minor things anyways. Now FEMA, what FEMA does is they look at your insurance check, what you actually received. And so they say, this building, for example, is no longer here. And they say $5 million is what we think it's gonna cost to replace it exactly like it is. How much insurance money did you get? We say 4 million. They'll say, okay, so out of 5 million, you got 4 million, so you have to spend 5 million, document that you spent all your 4 million of your insurance, and then we're gonna give you that $1 million. And depending on if it's a 10% match disaster, 25% or 100%, then they'll figure it out, and that's the only thing you're gonna get from FEMA. That's how the FEMA PWs work, so.
So we could be in, we could put, so at some point, we could put ourselves in a, if these rates keep going up, we may need to look at lowering our deductibles.
Yeah, raise,
Raising our deductibles.
stop it,
Doing
assume
that
all the
kind of-
risk, knowing that,
Doing that kind of thing, to know that FEMA's gonna come in and actually
Pick up the difference.
help us, yeah, in the end, you'll only really be responsible for that 10 or 25%, plus whatever the 2% is, or 5%. It is assuming all the risk, and that's saying that FEMA, I mean, there's a lot that could happen if you're not declared if your parish isn't declared as a disaster area, then you're not gonna be eligible to get FEMA funds. So you're really not talking about catastrophic events, and you're talking about what happens in the middle. What if it's not really that bad, we still have a building left standing, but we're gonna have to probably do $2 million worth of renovations to it. That's where it's gonna really hurt you as a jury and hurt those entities do they have the money to fix it without the help of FEMA and without, and without all that extra, because that deductible and that 2%, they take that off the top. Can you really fix it with that? That is really where you're assuming the risk.
Emphasize one thing she said, that if you just have a tornado hit this building, that's not gonna be, you're not gonna get Stafford Act funds for that, because it has to be declared a disaster.
And then raise deductibles, more than out of pocket up front.
Right.
But if it's a tornado, this policy doesn't have a 2%, it has a $50,000 per occurrence.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we don't want wind, but we would rather a tornado than a named storm.
If you look at this and you say, I want to save everyone money, and in the event of a named storm and we lose everything, we're going to cover, we'll be able to rebuild, and we don't need all of that insurance money. We don't need FEMA, we'll be able to do it because we want to save money every single year, then that's an easy decision to hike up your named storm. But if you're worried that there are entities or the jury might put themselves in a position where they can't afford to replace everything, then without FEMA help and without insurance help, then you might want to go ahead and pay that extra premium every year to make sure you're fully
But
insured.
the odds is one building's gonna get hit if it's not a storm, and they ain't gonna hit every building. You know what I'm saying? So you're not out that much.
There is a medium choice, didn't you give, like a conservative choice, was it 3%?
It's 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%. We're at 2.
How much does 3% save? What did you say? And the deductible, if you increase the deductible, that saves 10. We can always change this, if y'all wanna just
Let's just vote it.
vote on, y'all need to know which one are.
3% saves $32,000.
And, I
Going
mean,
from
that's
2%
half the
to
height.
3%.
So that changes your rate increase in half, cuts it in half.
That's a year that we were looking at, huh?
Yes, yes.
That's a lot of money. 1%, 3%. I mean, 2%, 3%.
he said he can address this, we just need to find it. So,
Oh, I understand.
We can adjust that at any time.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And address
So
the
when you-
premiums too.
Yes, sir. Pro rata, yeah, from the point going forward, yes.
But when you vote this afternoon, when you make the motion, you have to make the motion for which one you're choosing.
That's correct. That's correct.
Identified on the agenda.
That's what I need to know, which options.
Keep words out right
Put it
there.
at
What do you
one.
recommend? And then
Which is 5, all other perils, and 2% is where it currently is.
Any other
What
questions?
you recommend, Katie? What do you recommend?
I mean, yeah, we can change it if you want to go ahead and just take his recommendation and like Lee said, we can check with everyone, we could always change it later. Or,
Leave where it's at, what do you recommend? Always change it?
mhm.
If she wants to go back again.
Any other questions? I think it's all we have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Next item, Katie, voting machine.
Yes, so the last month or two, we've been working with the Public Defender's Office, who is located in the old DA building, and I think before that, they stored voting machines in it, is that
A
correct?
long time ago,
A
but,
long time ago.
yeah. And the family service men is in there too. Men.
Right, so, it's on the, that building's on the, located on the ground, the flood insurance is over $23,000 a year. So plus property insurance was $2,300, but if you're looking at a 25% increase on that building. So we wanted to get him, off the ground and get him over here. We had this vacant suite over here. So Jacqueline's old office, when the judges was here, the corner office over here on this side of the suite, we moved all of his files there, and he's gonna have his office there from now on. That way the public can get to it. We have public bathrooms right here. If he has meetings, we have elevator access. And then when he needs to meet with people right before court, they can do that here without, their impact on the staff and operations here are gonna be very limited. So we moved in there, so now the building is vacant. Finn's is working out of the courthouse when he does work down here, so it is 100% vacant. So I need to know what you guys wanna do with that building. We could either try to lease it out and see if we can offset some of our cost on maintaining insurance on that building. I got just a market value opinion from a company, and they suggested that we could only get somewhere between $750 to $900 a month lease for that building. We could always get another opinion. So you're only looking at somewhere between $9,000 and $10,800 annually, which it does save you, it cuts your cost in half, but it's not a lot. And then, or we could maybe get a quote and see what it's gonna cost to maybe demolish the building if you wanna see about just demoing it, so we don't have those insurance costs every year, that we have to pay for all the, what's that? The old DA building, it's standing, it needs to be renovated. I think the last time someone renovated it was in 2008 after Hurricane Ike.
It's just a solid brick building.
Mm-hmm.
It's cement block.
Yeah, see that?
It's got these metal stairs that are chronically rust every time. They painted them over and over and over, and they always just rust again right away. It's got quite a bit of room in it. It was made into offices when the DA was in there, so they've got 2 offices and a space in the front for staff, and they had like a little break room and a restroom. So, I mean, I know your insurance is terrible, because I live next door.
We did have a company ask to express interest in leasing the building, if you guys chose to try to lease it.
One of these companies that's here now.
Finster Maker is an engineering company. They have a lot of projects going on in Cameron Parish, and they expressed interest in housing someone here full-time.
Let's just get Vista Maker, whatever our insurance is, if they'll accommodate that, then they can have it. If not, it don't pay us just to keep. You know, not at $30,000 a year for it. How old is that thing?
That was in the
70s.
60s.
It's been flooded and restored twice.
If it's good enough to lease out, man, they give you $750 a month for a camper spot. I mean,
Yeah, I thought that
That's a
appraisal
building.
was low,
yeah.
and you have to, there's a whole big process about leasing a public building, and the first thing you do is get an appraisal. Well, you can't lease it for less than the appraisal, but you can lease it for more. So, you know,
Well, it would be like $2,000 a month to cover all the expense on the building. And I have, business can't pay $2,000 a month for an office.
Yeah,
They
they
don't
don't
even do
yeah. I'll say lease it.
it's directors here.
I think we ought to, investigate leasing it, and if it's not worth the effort or our time, we done replace, we got plenty of buildings.
Yes.
I feel like, we're not short of a building. And something on the ground, I know it's been there for ages, but maybe it'll create more space for parking or whatever, if we decide that.
Do we have to decide today?
No, you don't have to. It's not on the voting agenda. I just wanted to present it to you so you could start talking about it and see. When you start talking about tearing down buildings that have been here and survived 2 storms, sometimes people don't want to see those
Yeah, I was
buildings
gonna
be
say
demolished. And
Historical side. like
Yeah.
that.
You could also sell it, you know, that's another process that you have to go through.
Joe's law firm being.
No, no, space I need. Although, you know, there've been times recently where I wish I had it because it's higher than my office. So there's a lot of time, it went a long time with no water in it. So,
Have they made a formal offer to lease that building?
well, I do have something in writing from them. They had suggested that they would maybe be willing to pay $720 a month. That was their first offer.
Because so we can negotiate with them and tell them what our price might be, if we want to lease it, and then they can come back with us, so we don't have to make anything.
You gotta do,
It's
don't
not,
you?
somebody else not working.
I just wanted to see how you guys felt about it. If you want to lease it, then we'll pursue finding someone to lease it. If you don't want to and you just want to demo it, then I was going to start getting quotes together, see how much it's going to cost to do that. I just didn't want to do something either way without the jury approval.
But if you sold it, the person who bought it would not be legally obligated to keep flood insurance. So they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't have that $23,000 a year.
We can't let them here without flood insurance, can we?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
They own it.
I think they have to get some kind, it's on the ground, they have to get some kind of a.
Not if they pay cash for it, make it required.
It's grandfathered. It was, you know, it was, it doesn't have to be permanent. It would go small. I mean, I don't have flood insurance on mine, because it got too high, it was 35,000.
We kept in front, we probably, had FEMA money to renovate that thing, huh?
Yes,
Yeah,
twice.
So we have to keep it.
So it's on the agenda, I think.
So it's not on the agenda. So it kind of sounds like y'all are saying if you can't even get the lease payment to cover the cost, the insurance cost, then you don't want to lease it. You want to just,
Well, we need to talk about it, we don't just.
yeah. That's why, it's not on the voting meeting, it was just on the agenda meeting, so I could kind of present the idea to you guys, give y'all time to talk to everyone.
We might do some investigating, one, I don't know what it costs for an appraisal, but we have to have an appraisal if we decide to do something else anyway. If it's something we want to do.
Maybe no, I'll be fine with it.
There's just one thing, I think Aver Abstract's been on the market for sale for quite a while, so I don't know how much interest there could potentially be in selling the DA building that's on the ground. But
And one last
we
question.
could try.
Might be, because I think he has a very, I mean, I think he wants $400,000 for it. So I think you might be able to sell it. You know,
We could have, we probably have to appraisal whether we sell or lease, right?
I
We
don't
need
know.
that. Second thing, would we have to advertise to lease? I know we would have to advertise. to sell.
Yes, you gotta go through a whole spiel. There's a statute just on leasing public property. But we, you know, we've got it, we did all this when the school board was, at one time, the school board talked about leasing that building to the library, so we, you know, we put together how you do a lease and how you do a sale of public property.
And one thing I get attention to, parking. Does parking go with that building? Is it?
You own straight back behind the building, so they could park, they would be right on the side of my office, they can park right there. You have a little parking in front, okay, and the public defender used to park on the side of the building too. So there's some parking spaces there.
I guess no matter what we do, we finally get it right. Because we finally sell it before we tear it down, I guess.
Yeah, we can, we'll just, maybe next meeting, try to put something on the voting agenda either way on what to do with it. And Mr. Johnson and I will work together and see, lay out the 3 different options.
Because we actually had to go through the appraisal process to appraise the lease value. You know, that's part of the statute too. So, although I think it's, I think it could lease for a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll take care of that. Next item, Joe DuPont. Joe's not here, does somebody have
Yeah.
a presentation?
Yeah. What's going on is, the ambulance board of number 2, they travel for their meetings, they travel all over. And they would like to have their per diem raised, to $100.
They don't have.
They have
one
none
now.
right now.
They don't have one.
They don't have nothing.
They don't have a per diem now. That's what I told them, you would have to amend the statute to put a per diem in there.
Is this our statute or is this a state?
This is ours, our parish ordinance. This
What do
is
we
ours.
normally pay,
Some don't get any.
but what does, say, the library board,
Nothing.
board members, what do they, what is their per diem?
No,
Most of the boards don't have a per diem. They're asking for $100 per meeting.
Right.
They're asking for $100 per meeting.
Each person members or the people working?
Yeah, each person.
Board members.
Board members, yeah,
Board members is.
they do. Some of them around the parish do. Some drainage districts allow for it, fire districts allow for
I
it.
like break it.
Not $100 though, they
Right.
get $50.
Which one?
Don't they get like $50 for any board?
It varies from every different drainage board or regular. Grand Lake Drainage Board, they get $40 for every meeting they attend.
They travel around the parish, they say at Grand Lake, have all the meetings around Grand Lake. They go to each different community within that district.
And these per diems are essentially just to reimburse them for their mileage. You know, they're using their own personal vehicle to go to travel to the meetings. So that's why the per diems started to be allowed for board members. So it didn't cost them any money to attend the
No,
meeting.
I agree, I agree that we need to pay them something, I just don't know if the $100 is.
We get $16 to come to the meeting.
I just told you.
What kind of attendance do you have?
You have-
At all meetings or just the ambulance?
The ambulance board, you've got 6 members and normally they're all there.
So does the District 1, I haven't been here in a while, so does District 1 get any comfort in?
No, sir, I don't think so.
Do they, is there all their meetings in District 1 all held at the same place?
Yeah, that's about it.
In District 1 or District 2? District 1, they're in the same place every time, but District 2, they rotate to different communities.
I'd say just pay them the mileage.
So you might have someone from Grand Lake driving to Johnson Bayou for a meeting, or vice versa, depending on where the meeting is.
Yeah, normally it's Hackberry and Grand Lake is the 2 meetings for District 2.
I agree with Scott, just pay them knowledge, you know, whatever the knowledge is that they accumulate.
Well, one of the things that brings this up is there are some boards that do get paid. There's some drainage boards that get.
Yes.
Water boards,
stipend.
drainage boards, and those, they all get paid.
And it's hard to find people to serve on these boards, and I'm not saying we need to pay them to serve on these boards, but at the same time, they should be incurring expenses to be on this board. So, if we would look at, well, no, we're looking at one board, we're looking at this one today, we're possibly looking at lunch tomorrow.
We pay $100 for all the water, drainage.
But we don't pay.
Well, that comes out of their budget. That doesn't come out of.
I can't see $100.
I hear what you're saying, I'm That's why I'm saying, we're looking at it today for these. Yeah.
Well, that's just, I'm good with giving them the mileage and as a start, because they're not getting nothing right now.
Let me ask you this question, do we even have to vote on this if it's mileage, because they can't be paid through the budget, is that not a legal expense?
You have to vote on it, Mr. Sonny, because it's in the ordinance right now that they do not get, per diem or mileage. So you would have to amend the ordinance to allow them to pay that.
The authorization to announce.
The ordinance says no expense reimbursement.
Right.
And I don't see that there was even a proposed change. Do you have a copy, a draft of the ordinance change yet?
No.
So I think that's probably what we need to start. If you're all in agreement that you're gonna support changing the ordinance to allow for ambulance to get a per diem, then we can start working on an ordinance and then present it to you. And then you can vote whether or not to change the ordinance.
So one last question for Ms. Jenny.
Yes.
This ordinance, does it cover just the, ambulance board?
That one does.
That one does. A lot of them, like, we have a different ordinance for, really, I think all of the different boards at one time had an ordinance which created the original board and said where their meeting place was and all that. And some of them have in there, they can't take any per diem, or there'll be no compensation or reimbursement. And some of them have in there, they can be paid a per diem, don't have to. Okay, so, we would, if y'all want me to draft an ordinance, I need to know what y'all want. If you want
I
to
want to make
acknowledge
sure
it,
that by changing this, we're only changing for the one board.
that's what they're asking for today.
But this one here doesn't affect any other board, okay? Fine.
Correct,
Thank you.
correct.
Yeah, I guess we could say that we want to add to the ordinance to pay a per diem.
Or if you,
Mileage per diem.
or, maybe the way you do it is state, you authorize the payment of a per diem and mileage in an amount to be determined by the board and reimbursed by the board, out of the board's budget. You could do that.
This is my problem. You're gonna get one, want to pay them $100, $200 to go, then the water board down there is gonna want the same thing, it's just gonna create a.
That's right,
monster,
it's
you know?
gonna,
If we stick to our
Domino
mileage,
effect.
it's mileage just like every
Knowledge, and that's it.
Yeah.
So Ms. Jenny, they would get paid by the state mileage, state. like
yeah, at the state rate, which is
Well,
like.
we'll follow up with this. We'll get to work on something that we can present to y'all at a later date. We'll try to have it ready for the next meeting. And that way we can have an ordinance in front of us to look at, and then we can decide how we want to change it.
Thank you. All right, next item. And there's nobody here to do.
Sir?
You get any cards? Anybody have this here?
No, sir.
Okay. Are we ready for that, Kate, to report on the committee meeting?
Yes. You want me to do that right now?
If you can, please.
On the voting agenda, it's going to be agenda item 23. We had a subcommittee meeting this morning to discuss immediate reclassifications of current staff to fill vacant positions.
Do you have a hard copy of it? Paper, I can look at.
Of what?
Not a summary, no, sir, not of everything, but I can get you one after this meeting if you want to review it. I was just going to go through it. We just finished the meeting at 9:45, and so
Okay.
I didn't really have time
Go
to.
ahead.
So anyway, so that's what we met about this morning. The first immediate reclassification was for the accounting department. With the promotion of Kayla to the treasurer position, there are certain duties that she's not allowed to do anymore. We have to keep our segregation of duties per Louisiana legislative auditors requirements. So we have to reallocate a lot of different duties amongst the staff. So in lieu of hiring a replacement, we requested that we pull in the receptionist, and she's going to take on a lot of the accounting duties. And then we're going to transfer accounts receivable duties to our payroll person, which is Braids. And then Ms. Pam was going to take over Kayla's job, doing all the accounts payable functions. and paying the bills. Miss Arlene would still sit and be the receptionist, still retain all of her duties as the receptionist and the runner for the police jury. And then in addition, she would issue POs and then assist the other accounting staff with filing, scanning, and anything that they were behind on. So that was the first request, or immediate reclassification of grades to an accountant position, Arlene from receptionist to an accountant position, and then Miss Pam from purchasing director to an accountant position. The second topic we discussed was immediate reclassification of road crew employees to fill vacant foreman positions. We have an opening in Hackberry and an opening in Sweet Lake that we haven't had a foreman for over a year and a half. We had some staff that stepped up and started doing the work orders without any additional pay. They just knew the work needed to be done and they took it upon themselves to do it. So Ms. Emily requested to promote Shelby Arbor to be the new foreman for Sweet Lake and to promote Alex Benlaw to be the new foreman for Hackberry. That would be an immediate reclassification of a road crew person step to a foreman step. And then also in the meeting, as we were discussing replacing, now that we have people being promoted to foreman, we need to fill some vacant positions throughout the road crew. So the needs were presented by Ms. Emily, and it was identified that we would need a one road crew position of authority to hire to replace a vacant position, 3 in Hackberry, since Alex was going to be promoted, to make sure he had 4 laborers, and then 1 to 2 in Frio and Cameron. And that was what that's the recap of the meeting, and that's what we're going to ask for you guys to vote on today. You have any questions?
So you gonna hire 3 people in Hackberry?
Yeah,
To bring the total to where they were.
they've been down for 3
You
years.
just haven't replaced it.
Yeah, two,
Who retired and you got rid of?
I didn't,
Brenda?
we just did, oh, Miss Brenda, Miss Grace, and Mark Robinson.
Okay.
Seems like a lot, but we did replace it.
No,
We've been working for the last 2 years without.
And what you're gonna do, what we're gonna do in Grant Street?
Well, we're gonna get another foreman and hire one more. And we already approved one. Because I had another one quick.
And then
So we approved one, so you're gonna need
I need to hire, but we never replaced Mitchell, and I need one more. That's gonna.
So what's our goal, Emily?
So we need 2 in Cameron, 2 in Frio.
Our goal is to have the foreman and 4 hands.
It won't be like that in all the districts. My
What
contract
district
still
is
is
not
like
gonna-
2.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in your bigger districts.
I can't hear you.
It's gonna be in your bigger districts, like we're not replacing nobody in Klondike. Big Lake is good, we're not replacing anybody in Big Lake.
What is
It's
the
this-
crew size of Big Lake?
Big Lake, they have 4, a foreman and 3.
But you got to put a big lake and Sweet Lake, right?
Yes, sir.
And you got, how many you gonna have in Grant and Sweet Lake?
Sweet Lake will have a foreman and 3.
And did you, work together?
At different times, yes, sir.
So what you got in Creole?
Right now, a foreman and 2.
And you gonna have a foreman and four in Cameron?
Yes, sir.
And you gonna have a foreman and 4?
Yes, sir.
I think we need a foreman and 4 in Grant Lake too. What's the difference?
That's fine. This what I'm saying, though, like in Grand Chenier, they take Susie and grass cut season, that's 8 months out of the year, she ain't there, I'm running down to 3, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I agree. But are you gonna need 5 people in Creole and 5 people in Cameron? And
I'll tell
then
you
you're
right
gonna limit me in Grand Lake?
No, hold up.
So my grass don't get cut?
No, we ain't coming back, but what was in Cameron, right now, with James in the shovel, in the cover by itself, but, you know, putting with a shovel, they don't have nobody, Cameron blow it up like that.
You're right, we would have to
What do you
replace
have?
Shelby, you're right.
What do
If
you
by promoting
have?
Shelby,
What do
we
you
need to
have?
replace him.
What do you have in Cameron right now? I mean,
1 foreman and 2 employees.
huh?
1 foreman and 2 employees.
Well, yeah, they need to hire one more person. But if you You got
And
one
Creole.
foreman and 2 employees.
And in Creel, we have 1 foreman and 2 employees.
In Creole, same way.
Yes, sir.
So you plan on hiring 2 people in both districts there?
1 in, yeah.
2 and 2? And you're gonna limit Grand Lake from having 1 and 1?
What was the?
I'm just saying, we're gonna be fair, let's be fair there. I can guarantee you, we got a lot of work goes on in Grand Lake.
Well, I'm just
And
saying.
you're gonna limit, you're gonna start allowing 10 people to work in Cameron and
Well, we once had it, we had it
Yeah,
here.
we had it replaced, the difference was already there. If you suggest you want to know.
So you want to, you get your number.
Well, how about we're really just asking, the immediate classifications do need to be voted on. We were just requesting approval to advertise to hire. So if we can just advertise for all barns, we can look at the resumes, and then that'll give us time to sit down with our personnel committee, and then we can present a more formal hiring request to you at the next meeting and go through and decide how many positions we're gonna add at each barn.
Just get it.
I mean, you have so much time that goes into advertising, to accepting resumes, to interviewing.
Let's just say this much, I'd like to see on paper a complete, comprehensive outlook of what you got in the parish for as the road crew and the office staff. Were we hiring anybody in the office?
No,
sir.
I
So
do
we-
have,
So we got rid of Ryan, and we got rid of Greg, and we're gonna get rid of Darrell, and we're not gonna hire nobody?
No. They all absorb it all.
So, I mean, I'm just saying.
no, we're gonna, Mr. Lee, we're gonna discuss all this. We have another meeting scheduled in 2 weeks to start talking about all those positions. All I'm asking for today is just the immediate positions that need to be filled. These people are already doing the work, and they're not receiving any additional pay for it. They have been doing the work, so I'm just requesting permission for those.
I just have issues with this.
And authority to start advertising to hire
We're
positions.
gonna vote on that. I need better clarification of what y'all was wanting to do.
Yes,
me
we'll have
personally-
something for you. We're meeting on February 20th, and that's on the agenda to really assess the staff now, and if we have to reorganize, if we have to consolidate, if we need to fill other vacant positions, we'll discuss that.
I'm totally for anything that's gonna better every community, okay?
Mhm.
But I'm totally against overstaffing somewhere that you don't need.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think we all can say that. I think that's what we want to get.
Mhm,
So we got some new growth going on down here, so,
mhm.
which Grand Lake experienced back after the storms.
You got new what?
We got some growth going on down here.
Growth. Oh, growth, that's what you said, roads.
We might have some growth going in, we might have some growth going in. But, no, so the public knows, we did have at one point a foreman and 4 hands in each district. But a lot have retired since then.
Mhm.
So that's why
And we didn't rehire.
we never rehired. So that way the public knows what's going on. That's why we never hired people.
If, correct me if I'm wrong, but we aren't actually hiring any new employees. We're
No.
replacing those.
Replacing them retired.
If you want new employees, if you have a spot, and you workload, you demand it, hey, go for it. Get it done.
Well, you know, you can pull a history in the Grand Lake area where there was a lot of people there. And at one point, there was too many. But we had always worked where there was a foreman and 4 crew for a long time.
Right?
And then that got cut down to a foreman and 3 crew. And we made that work. And then you had people start retiring, and we didn't replace. So wherever we want to go with this, I want it to be fair.
You know, Lee speaking, when I was here, I was road superintendent at one time.
Exactly.
I think he's road superintendent still.
Yes. And if I can say one thing,
I know, and I agree. But I just want to make sure that all the jurors understand what we got, where we got.
if I can say one thing, we were like at 43 employees in Road and Bridge, and we're down to like 31. So it is a safety issue a lot of times, with just about any type of job you do. If you have a small barn with 3, and you have 1 say on vacation, or 1 with the flu, or 2 with the flu, or whatever, it limits a lot of what that one person can do by themselves to do it safe-wise. I mean, if he goes out on the road, there's no one to check on him.
And I totally
Yeah.
agree with that. But I totally agree with this much too. You need to do a comprehensive, explanation of all your employees that you have right now, so that that committee can have that to look at your next,
She told us,
Yes, sir, we did that this
talked
morning.
about that, she told us they got.
Do you know how to work?
well, she didn't tell me.
No, you're not.
He won't-
You're 90 minutes.
I'm asking y'all. I'm telling y'all, I'm not telling you. So I'm sitting here asking a bunch of questions in a public meeting.
Yeah, so we didn't get a written deal yet, she hasn't prepared one yet, but she will prepare one soon. And just to be clear, we're not hiring anybody at this meeting?
No, we're
Just
not.
advertising for people to put in to see.
And the authority is not actually on the voting meeting right now, so that would have to be an add-on, would be authority to hire, to fill,
So our
yeah,
permitting-
not to hire, to
our
advertise. Mhm.
Permitting's good, Miles? Y'all,
For staff? Yes, we just hired somebody, to help us. Terry got promoted doing, more weather issue stuff. And we good on our employees, and permanent.
I don't understand that.
So just
Tell you
to,
about the office.
That's normal, walk in.
I tell you about the office.
Got a lot less people here than we had before.
Well, the deal was that,
Air came
back when I was down in 2000, you had to talk about this many things. But then after the storm, then Tina had to hire Katie and Kara and Mary and a whole bunch more to come help with all these PWs and stuff. And since then, you don't have all that workload. That's all that's about gone, I guess, you know, so.
Right.
We'll get a hard copy to everybody.
yeah, so, but just to be clear, today you are voting on
Advertising.
promoting Alex to foreman position, Shelby to foreman position, and Arlene, Braids, and Pam. That's what's on the agenda. It is separate, A and B. So you can either approve each individually altogether, or you can table it, or you can reject it, you know, that's up for you guys to decide, but that's what we're asking. But these 5
I'm
employees
good with that.
are doing the work already.
I just think all staff needs to make sure that they're not overloading personnel with their own, with trying to ask one person in the office to do more than,
And question was raised.
Yes.
y'all
And
need to look at that real hard, because I feel like
Katie did, she told us that she.
we will, and we'll continue to revisit that through all of our committee meetings, and we have staff meetings. So, but that's the only thing you're voting on today. Now, if we want to go ahead as an add-on and just do authority to advertise, to accept resumes, to replace vacant road crew positions,
Yes.
we could start that process and let Ms. Emily start interviewing, and then after we have a good group, then we could start having our meetings and decide how many road crew in each district, how many do we need.
well, I think you need to have a number before you start advertising.
We definitely do know the number in Hackberry, and they only have a foreman and 1 laborer in Hackberry right now. So we have to advertise and hire
We'll see what
someone.
applications come in, and we will know by the time we get ready to hire how many we need. But we need that in the form of a motion, if we want to add that on.
I think we need to add
Where
on.
else are we in dire straits at right now?
That's it.
Hackberry,
Hackberry is the one that's mainly shorthanded.
Gratiot?
Creole
Engineer, but I know foreman, and I was approved to hire one, and one quit, so we're gonna have to get another. So really, I've just got 2 people working in Grand Cherokee, because Kim's working for the waterworks now, because the guy had open heart surgery. So I got 2 people there.
So what is the plan there?
I'd like to get forward, hire another, or let somebody step up and be the foreman, you know, whatever I'm the foreman.
Yes, we're good. We're not sure
So we're
exactly how long
Actually,
Kim's gonna be out.
Approved to hire.
You got approval already to hire
One. Yes,
So you want to hire one more and put a foreman.
I think what we're going to advertise,
That's people will advertise.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to advertise to hire,
For
I
applications.
don't know the number yet, but hire
So they can go out for.
Cameron, Creole, Grand Cherokee, got spots around Lake, Hackberry. At least, not that put a number on it, but
You could do
that way you get
Parish.
applications in.
Just put road.
Parish line,
Yeah. We'll list the barns that we're looking for, so they know which one they would be reporting to.
You could say you want to advertise in certain areas for a position and not put a number like he's saying, and then come back for approval
Yeah.
That's the only thing
I got three.
I,
Yeah,
authority
we
to
You
advertise.
good? That's good. Curtis, you good?
Everybody's good on that? Good.
Okay, so the item is gonna read authority to advertise for road and bridge employees and lists every morning.
Right.
Every area.
Okay.
Are you good with that? All right, rest of the agenda. I only have one question, and I'd like for y'all to read this out just for the sake of the people in the audience. Number 10 and number 11.
Okay, you have it, Mary?
The proclamations,
Yes. Just for the sake of the people in the room.
Is it whoever gets there first, is gonna read it?
okay, so, the proclamation for Miss Phyllis Pinch is gonna say, whereas Mrs. Phyllis Savoy Pinch departed this life on Sunday, December 29th, 2019, and whereas this body and the people of Cameron Parish shall be eternally indebted unto the late Mrs. Phyllis Pinch for her faithful service as a board member of the Cameron Parish Ambulance Service District Number 1 Board. Now therefore be it resolved by the Cameron Parish Police Jury of the Parish of Cameron, Louisiana, in regular session convened on the 7th day of February 2020. The Secretary is hereby directed to spread this resolution on the minutes of this body and forward certified copies thereof to the family of Mrs. Pinch. Adopted and approved this 7th day of February 2020. Miss Juanita Harrison's. Whereas Miss Juanita Cecile Barty Harrison departed this life on Sunday, December 29th, 2019, and whereas this body and the people of Cameron Parish shall be eternally indebted unto the late Mrs. Juanita Harrison for her faithful service as a board member of the Cameron Parish Library Board of Control. Now therefore be it resolved by the Police Jury of the Parish of Cameron, Louisiana, in regular session convened on this 7th day of February 2020. The Secretary is hereby directed to spread this resolution on the minutes of this body and forward certified copies thereof to the family of Mrs. Harrison. Adopted and approved the 7th day of February 2020.
Did y'all contact any members of the family or in case anybody was?
We normally
No,
don't.
don't do it, that's fine.
Yeah, normally I just get them signed and mail them to them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Or District 1, to Cameron.
Which one?
Cameron Ward, District Number 1. Go ahead, put some funding detail on that, or it's after.
You can say it during the meeting if you
Okay.
want to.
So So what is on 19? What exactly is that?
That is a amendment to Fenstermaker's contract to, it's for the Rockefeller project. The governor gave us that $5 million surplus funds to the project. So we have $5 million worth of construction costs. So the engineer's just increasing his fee by that 9%, but it is 100% paid by the grant. It's not local funds that's gonna pay for that.
Was that, went to the meeting up there, the meeting, Thomas? About the shoreline, restoration and grant sharing. Caravan?
Yeah.
Caravan, can you kind of tell everybody a little bit about that, how, Scooter showed us the pictures and how the rocks are solid and they're.
Yeah, so the breakwaters, that was the ME18 project, it was a Quipper project, that's how it started, 3-mile protection right in front of Rockefeller near Joseph Harbor Canal. And in a very short period of time, that sediment has you know, has started occurring behind the rock wall and started building up land. And so it kind of was a wow factor to all the agencies. And so these rock breakwaters are beneficial and working. And so that's why police jury's mission is to continue shoreline protection. So, and I know Katie just got word, we're still waiting on the Corps permit to begin the Rutherford Beach project, but hoping it should be any day now. But yes. And so the next will be Long Beach, and then we'll go into Little Florida. So
I forget how many thousands of acres we said that this off Rockefeller's lost.
Now we've seen pictures.
Yeah.
Of that. Yeah.
But it was working on the problem.
Yeah, it is.
It's working better than the ones in Palm Beach. But they were
We're
working.
gonna have some on,
Yes.
it won't be long.
I hope we hope to work it out.
do y'all have any questions on the coastal zone permits? No?
Whatever you want to tell us.
No, everything's good to go. I just didn't know if y'all had any questions. On item, under item 7C, CPRA, this is a QIPR project that started engineering and design from the PPL 28 project. So they're looking to do some marsh creation there, right east of the West Cove Canal. It's in Long Point Bayou, which is right east, west of the ship channel, east of the West Cove Canal. So which will,
You say marsh creation, they want to put.
right, well,
Fish spawn.
right, it'll create like 390 something acres of marsh. So
When is that meeting you said about
So the Chenier Plain Authority Board has hired Vince DeMaker to put together a project concept for Cameron, Calcasieu, and Vermilion Parish, since the Chenier Plain Authority Board are advocates for coastal and drainage issues, and for the Southwest region, which includes Cameron, Calcasieu, and Vermilion Parish. And so they hired Vince DeMaker for the coastal master plan for 2023. The screening criteria has changed. They're looking for more regional impact projects, larger scale. So Vince DeMaker was hired to put this project concept together to submit to CPRA by February 14th. So, and it was discussed about putting shoreline protection on the north and south side of the GIWW.
Yeah, that goes water.
Right, so,
it was discussed?
yes, it was discussed.
When are they gonna discuss that again?
Well, so they have another meeting Tuesday here at the office. Their meetings rotate between Vermilion, Cameron, and Calcasieu, and so the next meeting's held here at the office, February 14th at 5.
I think I'm gonna need to attend that.
Yeah, if you want to talk about the dredging of the intercoastal, that would be good for discussing of new business. So,
They was talking about it.
yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know how much good that shoreline stabilization along that intercoastal is gonna do for anybody. It's not gonna do anything good for our high water situation.
Yeah, that's Tom, Tom, you said they raised that level at intercoastal for.
But I mean,
That, over the years,
It's
over the last
red,
6, 7
lower
years.
level down.
putting the levee is not gonna help with the water. The water's gonna level itself out through cuts and everything.
No, what they were talking about, the loss of land, is just falling in the coastal, they want the shore, That's what we talked about up in here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, we can spend money, I guess people can spend money how they want to spend it. You're gonna build a levee when you can take a dredge and put the spall right on the sand bank. That's the perfect scenario. We're talking about hauling in expensive rocks and put along that.
It's all big wish list, that's all that happened.
We did bring your concerns to the people in Washington. We did Higgins up, it's on his radar. He hit up, Kennedy's office, and,
Gary Graves.
Graves. So we did bring some, it is on the radar, they do what we were talking about before we talked about, there has been some money, we didn't want to put it into some maintenance of, the equipment on the infrastructure, it didn't say dredging, it just said maintaining. So it's on the radar, they know they've got issues, and,
I'm just saying that if you dredge, it would take a lot of pressure off of everything else. I mean, we wouldn't be talking about doing.
Why didn't he come to that meeting the other day? What was he at?
He's coming. He's coming Tuesday, so that'd be good.
Okay.
And I can send y'all an email too for whenever they have their meetings, so if y'all want to attend.
The only other thing I had was, David mentioned in this meeting was, actually, the local fishermen concerned about with the dredge ball was going out there. About them not knowing exactly, they called and said they were, some of them had ran aground on it, but not having someone out there, I guess, to let them know exactly where to go. I know they got their depth finders, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
They were just asking why would they up along the beach, so I wasn't in there yet, they started all this stuff. Why was it put against the beaches that
So the west, you're talking about,
on the west side of the
the
red
retail-
and stuff in County?
so that's always been a disposal site. Of course, they don't like to go on the east side of the jetties because of the way the currents run from the Gulf of Mexico. That'll bring in more settlement back up into the,
Ship down.
yes.
Yeah, I
So,
just figured I'd mention it.
right. Is that it?
any other items on the agenda for review? Anything for the staff?
Mr. President, we have two add-ons, executive session for all outstanding litigation and authority to advertise the Harbor Road and Bridge, and I'll list the warrants on the meeting this afternoon.
I got on our fisheries,
We do have, we are, they voted on they accepted the proposal of Tommy Seafood from St. Bernard Parish, and we are working on the contract.
Anything else?
Come on, Julie, you gotta get out there and announce that.
Claire's in the back here, too.
Right, good job. Right. Anything else? Right. Meeting is adjourned.
See if I can find out where that, CPR needs can be.